welcome to a brand new episode here on Britain's Farm. So what are we doing today? Well, today, as you can see, we're out with the sprayer. And are we spraying? Because we don't appear to be spraying too much. What has happened here? Oh, we're spraying now. Yeah, so I don't know what had gone on there, unless it's just I couldn't see because, yeah, look, because the light makes it disappear, which is happened several times before when I've believed that I've not been spraying. But anyway, we'll get this field sprayed and then we will move on. So the epic spray continues, but we are rapidly running down towards harvest now. I think I have come to a little bit of a decision. Should we get on the tram line? Will that be more helpful? Yeah, I have come to a little bit of a sort of decision in regards to Britain's Farm, and I think it's run its course. If I'm honest, the views on the videos, you know, in general, are not that high. You know, occasionally the videos do sort of creep up again to the sort of 30s, 40s, 50s, and I understand that I've only been doing YouTube properly for a little while. You know, so I do get that. I understand that. And so therefore, you know, I shouldn't be expecting, you know, thousands of views every video, and I'm not expecting that. But I'm kind of looking at, I don't know, I guess with everything that's kind of happened, there's a wall there, James. With everything that's kind of happened in the last sort of last few weeks, in terms of my little boy coming and now obviously living with myself, and the thing, I've kind of told everyone, you know, look, there might not be a video every day, and you know, at the moment, so far so good. I think there has been a video pretty much every day, apart from the first week when my life just went mental. I went from like literally sitting here on the Monday recording to sitting here, you know, on the Tuesday morning having 9 million things to do, and so you know, it just went crazy. And that week, you know, I think it was a case of, was it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, there wasn't videos, which I hated. I hated not putting the videos out, because obviously, you know, that was what I was sort of, you know, aiming to build my reputation on, the fact that I could get lots of videos out, you know, well, not lots, but I could get videos out every day, you know. And then suddenly, you know, due to unforeseen circumstances, you know, which I had no idea was coming, you know, as I said, I've said in many videos that my little boy has, you know, issues and problems and stuff, and you know, that we were sort of trying to deal with that, but you know, for things to turn out the way they did, you know, I didn't expect it. You know, that came sort of right out of the blue, but it's the right decision for Thomas, definitely. You know, he has said, you know, on several occasions now, you know, I can't believe how happy someone can feel all of the time. You know, I didn't think that was possible. And for an 8-year-old to kind of say that, you know, that was a kind of a big thing for me. I was sort of, you know, I listened to him very carefully and listened to some of the things that, you know, he sort of talks about and different things, and And I, I sort of think, wow, like, you're 8 years of age and you're saying these things, and you've clearly witnessed these things, because these are not normal things that an 8-year-old would make up. So I'm kind of convinced that these things have to a degree happened, and it must be for an 8-year-old it must be terrifying, to have these things be a part of your sort of normal day. I mean, one of the things that he very often says to me is that that he can't believe that I let him have his tea with me, and that is just blows my mind. I'm like, what do you mean? And he said, well, at home I have to sit in the kitchen by myself and eat my tea with the door shut, while the other two are obviously in the living room, and they never eat tea with me. They just sit in the living room and watch TV while I'm eating my tea. Now, I don't know whether that is a thing. However, similar things have been said by other people. I'm sort of kind of being a little bit careful, because at the end of the day, I don't want to cast aspersions on people. It's not my place to. And as I've always said, they're not here to defend themselves or to, counter the argument or whatever. So, it'd be wrong of me to do that. But there are things that, I may as well get going there, because I did actually go through. They don't have a collision on, but obviously it just doesn't feel right driving straight through them. Even though I know they don't have collisions, I can't bring myself to do that. But yeah, so anyway, he's kind of sort of said everything that he's sort of said about all of that, and I have listened, and it's sort of quite surprising and quite shocking. But as I say, things changed, and I've been working really hard to make sure that not only do I go to obviously all the meetings that I have to go to at the moment, not only am I looking sort of after that side of my life now, I'm also making sure that I get videos recorded on time so that they go out on time. And I don't know, in terms of Britons, I've come to that point where I think that naturally, the series is sort of coming to an end. We're at nearly 80 episodes now, and I think what I'm going to do is, this at the moment is the plan. Now, feel free in the comments, and I always say comment, and sort of no one ever does, but feel free in the comments that if you're really enjoying this series, to say, no, can you keep recording, and and obviously I'll take that into massive consideration, because at the end of the day, I do the videos for you guys. I don't really do them for myself. Yes, I enjoy doing them, but the thought process behind me doing these videos is, okay, what are people on YouTube gonna like? What are they asking for? What do you know what I mean? Like, and so therefore I then make videos that are, for me, interesting enough to make and record, but at the same time hopefully interesting enough for you guys to watch and to enjoy as well. So that's the sort of feeling and sort of thought process that goes behind these videos. So my plan, as I say, unless you tell me different, my plan at the moment is that we will do the harvest. We will harvest all of the crops that we've drilled, and that seems like a fairly naturalist place to kind of sort of stop recording these videos once we've got the harvest in. Once we've got the harvest and the crops all sold, that we will then sort of call it a day on this series. Which is a shame, because I've really enjoyed doing Britain's Farm. You know, and then it's been sort of for me, and I don't necessarily always articulate this very well, but for me it's been a real sort of trip down, you know, memory lane of, you know, sort of kind of, as I say, in the early years, you know, my parents' house, the house that I grew up, you know, obviously with my childhood, you know, playing, you know, on the floors and the carpets and that with my tractors and what have you. And, you know, eventually, well, by the time I'd sort of turned, I think about 18, 19, you know, my nan had kind of said, well, look, you know, I live in this house, you know, I use 2 rooms in the house, you know, sort of all the time, you know, the kitchen obviously is a given, but the living room and the bedroom are the only 2 rooms of the house that I, you know, use. You know, why don't you come along and set your farm up, and you know, you got all the space sort of in the world to play, and that's, you know, eventually what I did. I moved the toy farm down to my nan's. My nan didn't live that far from where I grew up. She was about, I don't know, quarter of a mile, if that. You know, as I say, I could walk it in 10 minutes. You know, and that's sort of what I did. And you know, sort of doing these jobs and you know, like building the sheds. I mean, I've kind of tried to build that roughly how my Britain's farm was set up. It's not exact. Just you know, I guess I could make it exact if I really sat, but I'm not that great with the editor in terms of like leveling ground and making everything look neat and perfect. Um, you know, I sort of know enough to do enough, if you know what I mean. But you know, beyond that, I'm not that sort of good at you know, with the thingy. So with the editor, in-game editor, which I have to say, Giants has been an absolute masterstroke for like building farms and stuff. Because I'm not very good at it, but I do really enjoy it. Currently doing on the Oaks at the moment. I've got my personal save on there, and you know, I'm at Keys Farm on the Oaks, and I've completely sort of changed that farm. Some of the sheds and buildings and stuff have stayed where they are, but a lot of the cow area has gone. I've kept the silage pits. I've built a BGA there instead. What else have I done? I've added more sheds. I own so Keys Farm, which is 14, and I can't remember off the top of my head the name of the farm number 13, which is just over the road. So the grass field on the back of Keys Farm, which I think is field 36, that is now that has now all been levelled, and I've built massive grain stores on there, and that's for like obviously, you know, grain and productions. I've also added to the silo at Keys Farm. So I've made the you know, the tip trigger where the silo is on the farm. So I've made that tip trigger hold a lot more crop, because I do think that when we get farming on the mega scale that I'm going to be farming on, we're going to need a lot more capacity. But I've also made that tip trigger accept everything, so everything can be tipped in the farm silo. Potatoes, sugar beet, parsnips, carrots, red beets, literally any, you know, you name it. Apart from the only one thing I can't get to tip in there is grapes. I have no idea why. And I can't find the file in the game, in the farm map files to change that, because I know how to change that, but I can't find the required files to change that. So unfortunately, that's going to have to be a thing. But I'm not really going to be doing grapes on the farm on that save anyway, so I'm not overly that bothered. But yeah, everything else does tip in that silo. And then what I'm able to do is because Courseplay does the harvesting, Autodrive does the carting. and then what I do is when the vegetable crops get tipped into the farm silo, which I know is unrealistic, but I need somewhere for them to tip. Once it's done that, I can then reload another trailer and then load the sheds accordingly. And the actual sort of grain store type sheds that are built into the map, they have the best tip collisions I have ever seen. They get the crop right up against the wall, but it doesn't bleed through, and so that makes for very realistic grain shed loading. So, like, really sort of grateful with that. Because as I say, that does make life so much more easier, and more realistic. So yeah, I've sort of changed a lot. I've changed farm 13. So again, I've got rid of the cow barn on that one, and that's now been changed to 2 grain stores, one facing one way and the other one facing the other way. Again, kept the silage pit just in case we need the overflow from the other 2 pits on the other farm. So again, I've kept the silage pit. I also own the dairy on there, and I've changed I've changed one of the cow barns on there to a slightly more modern one, and so I've done that. But all of the auto drive still works as it should. As I say, I've just sort of done little bits that suit me and the way I play the game, so nothing too dramatic and what have you. But I mean, if again, let me know in the comments. But if you guys want to sort of see that save, oh, hang on, that's a bit high. Let me know, and I'll do a video on it. Or if you want me to sort of, I mean, I haven't got it finished yet. I'm still sort of converting and doing stuff and what have you to make sure that everything sort of works as it should work, because obviously I've altered 1 or 2 things. But so far so good. Yesterday I was harvesting parsnips on the game, and they were tipping into the farm silo, and then we were able to transfer them over then. So at the moment everything seems to be working as I want it to work, which is good. So I'm very happy at the moment. But yeah, this spraying is going very, very lovely at the moment. So yeah, as I said, just to finish and make sure that I said everything that I wanted to say, as I say, we're going to do we're going to harvest all of the fields, and then we're going to probably sell all of the machinery, sell all of the farm fields and everything. And with everything that we sell, 25 now is not that far away. Is there a save that you would like me to do or see, or a particular map? I mean, I have to be a little bit careful with maps, because obviously the bigger the map, the more memory it takes, the more that nicks my recording power. But yeah, if there is, because I was sort of half thinking about, with the farm that I'm sort of building at the moment on the Oaks, sort of kind of doing that as a little series just to run down to 25. I don't know how you guys sort of think about that, but I was sort of thinking about doing that. I was thinking about maybe doing more episode or more sort of crop types in a year in the life of, because I quite like that. There's the episodes that are coming up, I think, are quite informative. I think are quite interesting. I hope, anyway. If they're not, then I'm in a bit of trouble. But yeah, I think they're quite interesting, and there's sort of facts and figures and different things, and a nice bit of history, about the world, and potatoes, and kind of things that we didn't necessarily know about potatoes. And you know, we wouldn't necessarily think potatoes are used for. So yeah, you know, it's you know, I quite like doing that series. It's only a mini series. There's not going to be many episodes. It's probably going to be at most 20 or 30, but if that, you know. And so, you know, might consider doing some more of them, like sugar beet, wheat, you know, whatever, if I can find, you know, some interesting, you know, sort of crops to do or whatever, or carrots and parsnips, because they're a little bit more specialised again. The farm that I worked on, the second farm that I worked on, we grew carrots, we grew onions, parsnips. We grew a couple of times, but they went back out of the rotation again. But as I say, we did do parsnips a couple of. Well, we didn't have very sort of many fields. We had like a block, probably like, you know, 200-acre block or something like that. Red beets, as far as I know, we didn't grow any of them. And you know, it would be normal practice for me to get called at some point in the growing year to the onto the spraying team to help out with the spraying. We had 2 self-propelled sprayers, and then we had 3 trail sprayers. They were all 36 meters, and that was how we used to do the you know, how we would do the spraying. And it was whoa. I'm sure that if I remember correctly, this gap is wide enough, but not if I do that. So I kind of got to then swing it round here a bit more. Way. Right, now stop, and now reverse, and now drive forward, and then use the gap again to swing it out. There we go. Yeah, so as I say, we you know, that's the sort of spraying setup that we would have, and then you would have each, or so the 2 self-propelled sprayers may be on all. Let's say it's just pre-harvest, they'd be on all Roundup, but the trailed sprayers, they might well be on veg spraying or greenfly or aphid, or, you know, anything sort of like that. So they would be on a different sort of crop type, and well, not necessarily crop type, but certainly a different spray type. And that you know, that was how we were able to get, you know, several thousand acres sprayed at any one time. And what we would tend to do is, in the really busy period, which is usually sort of May through to probably August, so May to August, what we would do is we would work 12-hour shifts on the sprayers. So weather permitting, the sprayers would literally run 24 hours of every day, just, you know, sort of spraying land. You know, that was how we did it. If I did do spraying, I was always on the day team, because it wasn't really sort of my job. I used to sort of just help out and fill in. On the first farm that I worked on, which is, I did all the spraying on that farm, because it was only, I think the total farm area was about between 1,000 and 1,500 acres, so it was, you know, a small family farm. I did all the spraying on there, and, you know, very often, you know, if in the daytime it was too windy or whatever, you know, we would sort of look at the weather, and the boss would say, well, you know, actually at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, the wind's going to drop, you know, you can come into work then. You know, that would be what I would do. I would go home early that day, obviously get some sleep, get some rest, and then, you know, be in at work for 3 in the morning and go spraying. You know, and that you know, was, I mean, you know, we didn't do it all the time, but it wasn't abnormal for me to do that. You know, just with spraying, you know, you have to sort of get the spray on when you can. And the thing with the farm that I worked on, yeah, we did do that a few times, but he, I don't want to be rude, that's the thing, but the chance of him watching these videos is next to zero. He's what I call a lazy farmer. He does enough to make money, but doesn't go beyond. The second farm that I worked on, making money wasn't good enough for them. But yes, it was their goal, obviously, because they were a business, you know, but everything had to be done on time, had to be just so, had to be perfect, had to, you know, there was huge pride taken in everything they did. Whereas the first farm, it was a case of get it done as quickly and as cheaply as you can, and then leave it. And as I say, you know, very, very often, you know, we would come to harvest time, and you know, the black grass and you know all the other type weeds in the field, like, and you would look at it and think, okay, so are we harvesting black grass in this field, or are we harvesting wheat? You know, it was not the greatest. You know, we'll say that much. And yeah, it was not the best. You know, I think the only thing that they used to kind of get right, in my opinion, was fertilizing. So all the fertilizer was always applied that was needed. You know, but you had to find a way of making black grass grow better. You know, I'd sometimes used to consider, why don't we spray the crop off and just harvest the black grass? We could make a fortune. But right, so that's us out of spray. But yeah, so as I say, it's you know, it was very different, the two farms, and the philosophies and the mentality, you know, of the farm. I mean, don't get me wrong, the first farm, you know, there's only me and another guy, and then another guy came in the summer to help out. You know, but whereas on obviously the second farm, you know, there was sort of lots of you know, full-time workers, and then obviously we had the the harvest you know, staff come in as well, usually foreign students. You know, usually, not always, but usually, or students from this country that were on stewardship. I can't think I can't remember what they're called. But they would get, you know, the college would ring the farm up, and they would so I want fertilizer. I just need to make sure it's that one. So they'd ring the farm up, and then you know, that was, you know, what would happen. You know, they would come to us, but it wasn't very often that we got them. So one of the stewardship schemes that we used to have sometimes was people doing the Nuffield schemes, and not only would the Nuffield schemes mean that we would get foreign students come to us from usually Australia, New Zealand, but then we would also send workers out there in their harvest time. So a couple of times I got offered the chance from the second farm to go out there and to help out, but at that time in my life, I had a massive fear and phobia of going out. So I wasn't sort of happy to go to work, but I had to go to work. But once I was kind of in my tractor, I was kind of okay. But at the weekends or whenever, when, you know, sort of my partner would say, "Oh, let's go out for the day," I just couldn't do it. You know, I'd feel sick. I would, you know, shake. You know, rather embarrassingly, I would cry. And I just used to melt down, and this would happen sometimes at work. Sometimes at work, these feelings would come along, and that would happen at work also. So it was a really difficult time, and so the thought of doing something, I mean, like that was no way. I'd love to have done it, and now, thanks to some absolutely fabulous work from, as I say, as I've said before, Alan and Jasmine. Now I could do it. Now I would absolutely love to do it. That it thrills me to think that such opportunities are out there, and it absolutely devastates me that I had these opportunities and couldn't make the most of them. And the more and more as sort of life passes me by, and certainly with the new circumstance that I've now got, the chances of me getting abroad, the chances of me doing the things that I wanted to do, if you like, a bit of a bucket list, are next to zero. I'm sort of obviously at the moment rapidly looking for a house or whatever. I don't want a house, I want a bungalow, because obviously no stairs. Because with a heart condition, if you're having a bad day, stairs are are a nightmare. But I've kind of come to the conclusion that if I am having a bad day, I can sleep downstairs. If I buy a sofa bed, so at least I've got the option then of sleeping downstairs and having like a sleeping bag or a quilt or blankets or stuff downstairs, so that if I need it, I can sort of use it. But the prices of everything, it's like, geez, do you know what I mean? Like, and because obviously, like, I obviously don't work, obviously don't get nothing from YouTube, so everything that I kind of have for myself is sort of benefit based. And I can, when I see these stories in the papers about, that so and so, was on, sort of 26 grand a year or whatever on benefits, and they were this, that, and everything. It makes me so mad, because the thing is, people like yourselves, and I'm not blaming you guys specifically, but just ordinary everyday people like yourselves see these stories and think, God, everyone on benefits is loaded. Now, I don't have, at the moment, I live with my mum, right? She charges me £200 a month board, and with the money that I get off, that I'm entitled to, I have enough to pay my board, and I have, within reason, enough to go out and get diesel, pay my car insurance, pay my road tax, and a little bit of money, as I say, to sort of go out. I like going racing. That tends to be where pretty much I use all my money. I don't really spend my money on anything else, or unless DLCs and stuff for Farming Sim, but that's only once in a while. So as I say, to I don't have the money to go out and waste. And if I wanted to do stuff like I want to go abroad, I want to go back to Scotland. I really enjoyed Scotland. I want to go abroad. I want to see America. I want to see Australia. I want to see Italy. I just want to travel. Well, it takes me a year and a half, 2 years to save up. And of course, I began to save this money so that I could do this sort of stuff. And then obviously, along comes my little boy, and a lot of the money that I'd saved I've had to use in terms of food and school uniforms and stuff like that. And so looking for a house, £800 a month rent, it's like, how am I going to do it? I don't know. And I've sort of done a little bit of math, and my maths are terrible, so I've obviously had help from sort of like my mum and my brothers and stuff that have sort of tried to help me figure things out and what have you. And like, I literally can do it and have about £2 left each month. Now, we all know that when you're living like that, cars are going to start going wrong, washing machines are going to go, do you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. And I do, secretly to myself, I worry about it. I worry about it a lot. It's a huge worry, for myself, because I don't know how, you know, I feel bad because, you know, obviously my parents always worked and they provided for me and my brothers, and, you know, and we had a great child, and I don't want to be the parent or the dad that kind of like says, oh, we can't go out for a day out, or we can't do this, or, you know, we can't do that. It's like Saturday. So at the moment, because my little boy's norm is to be really naughty every day at school, I've now set up a reward scheme. So little niggly things that he does at school, if school are dealing with them, they get left to be dealt with by school. I'm more interested in the major stuff that he's been doing, you know, sort of over the last sort of 2 years or so. And I've said to him, as long as there's no major, as long as you know, you're behaving, you go to bed, you do, you know, do what I ask when I ask you to do it. Every weekend there'll be a nice reward, and you can pick your reward, right? You choose what you want. So every sort of Sunday evening when we go to bed, well, when I take, you know, send him to bed, I say to him, right, what's your reward going to be for next week? And like last week, so a week ago yesterday or Sunday, he said, I want pizza for my tea. So I was like, well, fair enough. He said, but I want it from Domino's. All right, you know, fair enough. So good all week at school. Weekend comes, I get him Domino's. Well, yeah, that was like nearly 40 quid, you know, and I sort of kind of thought, well, you know, I'm not going to be able to do that, you know, if I get my own place. And oh, it's just, I'm ranting, I know I am, and I'm sorry. And, you know, I'm sort of kind of getting my worries and my concerns out, and I shouldn't really do them on these videos. They should be really, you know, fun and lively and joyful. But you know, as I say, but you know, at the same time, you know, I like to think that I sort of try and keep things, you know, real, and it's reality, and, you know, stuff like that. And we all worry about, you know, sort of everyday stuff and what have you. So, but yeah, anyway, thankfully we've now finally got the spraying done, and we're putting that in the wrong shed. It goes over here. Well, actually, you'd be better off going in the spray shed. Is there room in the spray shed? There is room in the spray shed. It'd be better off going in there. So yeah, but anyway, as I say, we've got the spraying done, and that means that we can now wheedle our way down to harvest. We've probably got some animals to feed before that, and then as I say, we'll do the harvest. We'll get the harvest done, and then we will probably, unless you guys tell me differently, we will call it an end for Britain's Farm. And I've really enjoyed doing it. Hopefully you've enjoyed watching it. And yeah, we will say goodbye to the farm. As I say, apart from the silos, which I did have silos on my toy farm, but they weren't like that. They were just like silos, and then I just had a unloading auger, or loading auger, I guess, that went up to them. But yeah, but the sheds were pretty much set out like that. So they were around the sort of, if you think behind those sheds is the wall, so it was in the corner, and obviously that's how it went across the corner and then sort of down the other side and like that. But yeah, and then behind it was so behind it would have been this side was like, you know, the sort of rest of the floor space and the carpet, and that was a field. So it's a little bit different, but you know, it was never going to be exact, was it? So I certainly didn't have all this around the back here, but you know, we can you know, sort that out. And as I say, I was going to put a dairy barn there, but as I say, I think we've naturally come to pretty much the end of Britain's Farm. But anyway, thanks ever so much for watching. Really enjoyed having your company. Hope to see you again in the next video, where I promise I'll be more cheerful. And I'm also starting to think about doing Drive Along With Me, which is when I go to pick my little boy up from school, and after I've dropped him off at school on the drive back, and sort of do you know, sort of chatty videos where I just chat about rubbish and try and make it funny, try and make, you know, because I fancy myself as a bit of a comedian, and I kind of have that channel where I just say what I like, you know, don't hold back. I just say what I like. The videos won't get sent to me two lawyers, to my two ladies. You know, that won't happen. I'll just put them out there, you know, and if I get in trouble and there's no videos for a few months, you know what's happened. But anyway, that's for another day. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.